Welcome back to another episode of Muse where we talk about anything creative. We have your host, Ezra.
And Naseem, and today we have a guest.
Jeff Dang.
Tell a little bit about yourself, what you do, what's your Instagram, socials. Put yourself out there.
Okay, all right. So I'm a illustrator / graphic designer. My Instagram is this is Jeff D.
Okay,
bad.
Yeah.
So how do you get into graphic designing and illustrating?
I mean, I always drew as a kid, and even before I knew what graphic design was, I think I always kind of gravitated towards doing stuff like that, like making posters and obviously I liked comics, so I would be doing a little bit of that. And I think, similar to just art in general, there's I would quantify graphic design as the things kind of all around us, even more so than art, because it's the stuff that we handle every day, like the plastic bags or
all the packaging,
yeah,
the posters for the movie, the games.
Yes, yeah, right.
So
it's a broad stroke graphic design, but I think it's more of the everyday stuff.
Yeah,
it's the art of the everyday.
It's a lot of advertising and graphic design.
I mean, design itself, is such a big thing.
Yeah,
just like you said, all the stuff we use, the glasses he has on his head, the clothes that we're wearing. You know, it takes a big part in our daily lives. Mm-hmm. So now that kind of brings us to our question. Like you said that you're always interested in it, but you kind of approached the career I would say later on than I would imagine someone that was interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I always when I was 6, I was I want to be an artist, right? And I never knew what that meant. I guess when I was at that time when I was 6, it was an artist was someone who draws, right? So I was okay, I'm just gonna be someone who draws, right? And then as you grow up, you're obviously faced with that question. It's oh, what are you gonna adults ask you what are you gonna be when you grow up? And then the answer was artist for a while, and then somehow it changed into other things because I guess when you're a kid, you do realize you somehow pick up on maybe it's either from your parents or some other grown up art is not the safe choice, right? It's not a career. It's just it's a hobby, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, I just jumped around from wanting to be an artist to
exploring, having a little bit of it's always, I feel it's always that little bit of self-doubt, a little bit, but also just like you said, when you see your parents, you see your adults, they kind of have a hold on what you see is around. If you grew up in a family of artists, maybe you're oh yeah, that's more achievable. For me, I knew growing up, I had artist families. Not they had success in the past, but at the moment they weren't. So I was kind of confliction of okay, what is an artist? What do I value? Do I value having living through what I love, or do I value making that money and making sure that I'm secured in life? And that's the first question I had a problem coming across. So.
I think also the people that were telling me oh, you're it's gonna be hard, you're not gonna be making a living, those people weren't doing anything creative, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of I don't know if
it's what Kanye West says. He's I'm not gonna take advice from someone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
when you don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's what it's if a doctor was taking advice from someone who isn't a doctor.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? You don't know how it is. And also I think that you personally won't know how hard it is unless you actually go through it. Right? And after so going back to your question, I was okay, maybe it's not artist, maybe it's I don't know, something else. And then when college hit, it was at that time I was all right, I'm going to do computer science because that was kind of a hot thing, right? And hot topic. And then in high school, I dabbled in fixing computers, and I really liked repairing things.
Oh yeah, you got your bikes. You made that was it the arcade thing?
Yeah, I made an arcade machine. Before there's actually arcade cabinets you could buy really cheap now.
Yeah, I had to make me one soon.
Yeah,
I need
or you can also, if you have enough money, it's not that much. It's $300 or something.
But I'm actually kind of curious though. Did you like repairing things because of you just like preparing things, or because like you said, design goes into a lot of the daily things? So that was part of.
Well, I think I got exposed to like repairing computers, and I really like the hands-on, like actually fixing the things, because I think a lot of it in school, at least where I went to high school, and I would say even most American high schools now, like there's not a lot of classes where there's like hands-on kind of classes.
That's back in the day type stuff.
Yeah, there's like no shop class. There's nothing of that, right?
Yeah.
So it was like a really great experience to finally like use my hands, like solve a problem, and then have it like work again. And that I was like, oh, and I like mistook that as like, oh, I'm gonna do computer science, even though those things are like could not be any more different. And then so in college when I realized like, hey, like I don't like this is like way over my head. Number one, number two, like I just didn't like it. So
I feel you.
I just needed a way out. I always liked art. I didn't know what I wanted to do with art at that time, but I just realized like that this was the only thing that I knew I liked. So let's just do that and then see where that goes.
I like that. And I think it all comes with exposure. I feel as though like what you thought something was, but that it wasn't. Maybe if you was exposed to it in, let's say, high school or some type of program, you would have knew a lot earlier. What was for you and what wasn't. As well as with artwork, you know, and just being an artist in general, it's like we was talking about with graphic design coming from different aspects. Like graphic design being a pivotal part of advertising. You could be a creative director and start as just a graphic designer. So just like we don't understand. I don't think a lot of people understand the ceiling of where art can bring you. And the security that's also in art. Like, there's a lot of jobs. Like, I know that Ezra works in Trader Joe's, but he does the art part of Trader Joe's, which is very interesting and intriguing to me. That is a job for that. And I feel though if we had a better understanding about where is the jobs, what does this type of artist look like, it would be more of a support when it comes to, I guess, parents and every other thing.
Yeah, because I think, like, most American education is training you for like how to be a good employee.
That's true.
You know, like, and if you think about like the skills that you actually use in your daily life, like, I don't know, personally, like, you don't really use much of that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I haven't used any of it really.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know how to use algebra.
Wouldn't it make more sense if there was like a class on how to do your taxes? Like in middle school or something, or like even high school, you know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
I agree with that. I think ultimately the reason why they don't have it is exactly what you said. They want to teach you to be another employee, to work in the system. So they teach you all the techniques to be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna figure out another way. You have a more open mind. You have more freedom. You're gonna figure out another way to break through the system instead of following through with the task and falling behind. You're gonna be ahead of the game.
And it's less like, you know, I think the things with, like art that's different than all the other classes that you might take in high school is that, you know, you're kind of free to do what you want, right? And like, you kind of give yourself those problems that you want to solve.
Yeah.
Whereas like, if you look at other things in high school, right? Like English, like someone hands you a book, they're like, what do you think he was talking about? Or like you know, math, like someone gives you the problems, right? Like it's, I think art and like music are one of the few subjects that kind of, okay, like what do you want to do, right? And see what you can make. So I think that was one of the reasons why it felt so attractive to me, because it was the only thing that was just like, what do you want, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to hearing what other people
interesting.
Telling you what to do. You know?
I definitely love that point, because for me it was a lot simpler. I liked the putting marks on a paper. I was like, ooh, this feels good, and I was like, I like to do that makes you feel good to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So it's like I enjoyed that moment of peace I achieved from it, and I think part of it is because it is my own rules, it is my own world, and I have the freedom to make my own problems, solve my own problems, and work through my problems. Even regardless if it's a small scale on a paper or a big scale if it's like a wall.
There's a level of control and like agency you get from doing your own thing, you know? Whereas like, you know, when you walk out into the world, it's like you have to, there are rules and laws, right? Like we all gotta like abide by, right? And like social laws too, right? So I think that's one of the freeing things about anything art related is it's kind of like what you said, it's like your world, right?
Facts. And I would say like being limitless when it comes down to like art and stuff like that. Like if you're being an employee, you have a set bar where you can, all right, maybe you get these promotions and that's where it ends. But when you're an artist, you can create one piece. It can take one song. It can take one piece of artwork that changes your life forever.
Yeah.
It can take one piece. It can take one gig. You can take whatever that allows you to build a business. Then now you can create opportunities for everybody else. And I think what we're doing here with Muse Hall is very pivotal because the big goal is to be able to create opportunities through art. You know, like podcasting is a form of art. You know, there's a lot of in business. You got to be creative. In business, you got to have imagination. And I think a lot of corporate jobs, not all the time, but they do take away that imagination. And I think that imagination allows to have no limitation. And that's what we want to have. That's what we want to have with everything.
What I do love is, like, originally when we came into this podcast, we had kind of a different question in mind, but I feel like this podcast is kind of leaning to how to think like artists. Mm-hmm. And also just how to find your way as an artist. So I feel like those points are, I think that's kind of like more what I'm feeling as we're going through. So I want to also ask you because you had an interesting, scope with art before. Like you kind of came into, when we went to high school, you kind of came not really knowing exactly what you wanted to do artistically as well. Yeah. You just knew, you started from, like when I remember younger, you wanted to make video games.
That's true.
And then now you're, I mean, you can let them
got the video part.
Yeah. Doing the video part. This isn't a game.
Yeah.
I'm just going to animate your mouth saying different things. I'm joshing. But no, I mean, I just really like the creativeness of video games and just other forms of content like comic books or just storytelling.
Right. Yeah.
That's the primary thing. I like the idea of coming up with a character. You know, I'm just going to talk about myself. Back when I was a kid, I used to like give myself a different name because the name's not seen. Yeah. But I'll be like, I go by Nick Wolf. That's what I wanted my name to be, Nick Wolf. Yeah. Like, that was just a badass name to me. And like, I thought about making that into a video game character, into, a comic book character, whatever. So it was just that imagination. And I always wanted to have ability to push my imagination and wherever that took me. And my mom kept me in drawing classes and stuff like that. And video game classes, I took one of those. And I just realized I don't like programming. I don't like all that stuff. I just like creating ideas and having those ideas come to life. And I don't want to learn everything to make them ideas come to life. I want to meet the people that can help those ideas come to life as well.
You guys are low-key similar because you're like, you said, fuck this computer shit. You know what?
But I would also say, like, in video games, and you look at like a AAA game title, right? Like, there's so many credits.
True.
Like, it's like longer than a movie almost.
That's fast.
And programming is definitely one aspect. And I think when I was younger, it was like, if I wanted to, I don't know, like when I was younger, I thought like if you wanted to go in video games, you need to know how to code. And like, I met someone actually at Pratt, like he works in the video game industry, but like he does none of the coding. He helps construct the story of the game, the flow of the game, right? And so like, if you do get into video games or whatever, like there's like the technical side and then there's the more creative side, right? And like the bigger idea side of things. So I think like,
I mean, there's so many routes.
Yeah, and that's something I think like schools don't really push. Well, right? I feel like there's these things happening too,
Like I feel like the main element is. This is a big point that I love to tell people, especially artists I first meet, is just because it wasn't done before, that doesn't mean it's not possible. Like when it comes to the art world, there's a lot of people that are creating new artistic job titles or new things. It's just like it's not straight cut and clean that, as an artist you can do this job and this job. Obviously there are examples of that, but a lot of it is invention. You're a creative artist, you're inventing your ideas or you're recycling ideas or whatever it is. You're becoming adaptive. So that's also, you have to apply it to life as well. Because you can adapt and invent a whole new job title or a whole new career out of what you do and love to do.
And that's funny. I was just ready to speak on that. Like, I think it's good to know what that title is or know what the closest thing to what that title is for you. Mm-hmm. Because all I knew was video game designer. If you look video game designer, you're going to see broad. Programming.
Yeah, right.
But really, I realized I want to be a story writer within video games, or character creator within video games. But I didn't want to be the designer that designed the programs and stuff like that. Yeah. But when it comes down to like identifying that title that fits closest to you, okay, now I can like watch content, read books that can make me understand what that person does, but then you can, like you just said, tweak it and now create your own title. Okay, I'm similar to that, but I'm not really that because I do more of this. But this helped me find whatever I'm doing now.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. And also another point is like, I feel like for me, like I was too caught up on components because my route is like I really wanted to be self-made as an artist, and I was too caught up on like, okay, what are this artist's components? What do they do to mix with this and mix with that? Is it like content creation mixed with a Patreon mixed with a Gumroad, whatever it was, or is it fine art mixed with freaking I don't know, murals or whatever it was. So I kind of was stuck with the idea of components, like additions to the equation, and I was like, you know what? And I realized that you can't figure out your equation unless you go through the motions. Like you have to go through the motions and figure out what you love because you want to live through what you love, and then come up with, and adjust your equation and tweak it because you have to actually try. And
right, you won't know until you actually go through it.
Because just because like those people, for instance, that have those equations figured out or those components figured out to become self-made, doesn't mean 20 other people before them did it. They could have been the first. They could have been the fifth. They could have been the 20th.
Yeah.
So you could, it's the same thing for you.
Right. And, also, like, kind of similar on the, like, what you're saying, that I think a lot of people, when they hear that we do something creative, they think it's like, oh, that's great. You're doing something what you love, right? Like, it's easy, right? And then there's like that notion that it's just like it's all rainbows for you, but still at the end of the day, like it's still work, and a lot of it, like when you finish one of these, you're like, yes, this is great, but like doing it was like there was a lot of figuring out, right? There's a lot of planning, right? That kind of stuff is still tedious,
exactly.
True.
And that whole advice of like, do what you love and like the money will follow.
It's the idea of being an artist.
That's total like BS.
Yeah, because I feel like it's the idea of being an artist that everyone falls in love with. That's why there's so many people that's like,
because it's cool. Yeah, because like people are like, oh, you're an artist, like you're cool.
Oh, that's so cool.
You're right, and if you actually have work that can like be your evidence, like hey, I am an artist. Yeah. Here's my proof.
And another thing is like it's funny because I always deal with the thing where it's like, oh, I'm like, oh, I'm an artist. They see my work. Oh, they're like, oh, you're an actual artist.
Yeah.
I'm like, like, I mean, I feel like the term artist has been watered down a lot.
Facts. Because, I mean, it's so much easier to be an artist at this point with a lot of things. Like, it's easier to get into photography because cameras are more affordable. Everything's more affordable to get into. But I feel as though you still got to push yourself as an artist and be okay, like you just said, with things not being easy. Because just because things are easy, or you might think they're, just because you love something doesn't mean that relationship is easy. Anything's a relationship. Every relationship has to have a fight. Yeah. I was watching this one thing, I might speak on this again, but it was like Teddy Atlas. He was on this podcast, and he's like this, boxer trainer. And he said that when it comes down to fighting, he says it's harder, it's easier to fight than it is not to fight.
Yeah.
Because if you don't fight for what you want, you're always going to be living, thinking, damn, what if I did that?
Yeah, right.
What if I did that?
So grass is greener on the other side.
Facts. So it's just like, if you fight a fight usually takes 1 minute.
Yeah.
An actual fist fight. A fist fight can take, you're not going to be fighting we're not conditioned to be fighting for hours. So a fight takes 1 minute. If you just, quit and don't fight, you only think like, dude, I should have fought for like the rest of your life, and that don't come when you wake up at night or whenever. So as an artist, it's a fight, and it's something you gotta fight for. When things aren't easy, you're pushing through it. When things don't seem like they're working out, you're pushing through it because you want to get there. Because guess what? If you did quit, that's gonna make you feel more like shit than if you just fought within that moment.
Yeah, I mean, like, because everything is time. Like everything's step by step. Like just because, like I say, it's always good to just go for what you're interested in, because you can always get things late, like approach things again. Because I know like one of my favorite children's book illustrators, Ezra Jack Keats. Mm-hmm. He was a muralist, and it was like he was like maybe like I would say 60s to 80. Like he was old. He was an old man.
Yeah.
When he decided to like it was a Great Depression. Yeah. It was a Great Depression when he decided to start being a children's book illustrator. And now and
that's do you know that for sure?
I don't know if he was doing murals during the Great Depression, but or if it was doing.
I asked that because
I'm like,
that's kind of crazy, because it's like to make that decision, like
like it's kind of.
I'm like,
but then
it's
again,
the
he's also an old man. So he's probably like, okay, that's working on murals is hard. Yeah, but like I thought it was interesting that it's in his old age he decided to be a children's book illustrator when everyone that knows him now doesn't know that he was a muralist, doesn't know what he did in his 20s. They mainly know, at least a regular person mainly knows of his books, Snow Days, or whatever it is that you read.
Well, eventually, like, people, whether you like it or not, like, if you get fame of some sort, like, they're just gonna be like, that's that guy,
first impression.
It's like, I think like
Joji. What's his name? The singer Joji?
Yeah, like he started as a YouTuber. You know Joji?
Yeah. No, I don't.
He's cool. He started as
a YouTuber?
Yeah, Filthy Frank.
Well, he's a musician now.
Yeah, he started Filthy Frank, and like he was this cool Asian YouTuber. He was funny. I mean, he got canceled for saying some things like he wasn't supposed to say or whatever. And now he's in music, and no one even remembers that. And just like,
I mean, yeah,
but he makes good music.
You think about like, I think, did we quote Kanye on this?
Yeah, I did. Okay. I did.
But like, you think about Kanye, right?
Don't
like,
cancel me.
He in like the mid 2000s, he was like the shit, right? And now he is not. No one wants to associate with him, right? And I mean, that's his fault,
at least for like their, I guess, for media attention. But you know, everyone be putting the headphones on, be bumping their Kanye.
You know, I think it's like. It depends on like how you present yourself to the world, but also like however the world will judge you and like label you, right? And then you kind of, I don't know, you just kind of have to work through that, right?
But I mean, Kanye made Graduation.
Yeah.
He made College Dropout. I'm playing. That's like the meme. Like, but he made College Dropout. I'm playing.
I mean, he's not the same person.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's like. I mean, he's an
like you said,
example,
though, you know, you go through life, you're a different person.
Yeah. You think about, like, who you were. I mean, you don't know it, like, day to day, and even, like, last year, like, you feel the same as you are now. But then, if you think back, like, 5 years, is like, I think back how it was 5 years ago. I don't feel the same person, you know? Like, your opinions of things change. And I think that's just how life is, you know? Kind of like... You know, when people complain about how New York changes, it's like, if you look at the old photos, like, literally nothing of that exists, you know? It's like very little things exist in, like, New York. And I think that's, like, life, too, you know?
I think that I really like how Ezra chose to change the conversation and shifting it a bit. I think we still kind of stayed on topic.
We still.
But another thing is that I really wanted to say is like, I don't really think we always fully change as a person. I feel though a lot of times life can make us shift in ways that isn't really connected to us in the first place. Like, I know we spoke on, you know, thinking we need to have this job path because this is more secure than having something I'm really passionate about. Yeah. And I feel though us as a kid, you know, we have nothing in this world that is separating us from who we are fully. So I like a lot of times we can lose ourselves or our true nature, but then through life, you know, people do it different ways. You can step back into who you were even as a kid, because it's a lot of goodness in that. There's a lot of pureness in that as well. You're not thinking about money. You're not thinking about, you know, fast cars, beautiful women. It's whatever. You're focused on what's real, you know, and what's true to you. And I think I really like that a lot. And also, going back to it, is it ever too late to stop? I mean, to start something new, bro. Like, as we get older, we can learn talents that we never knew we had. So, like, I could be older and take a picture and be like, dude, I'm actually good at taking pictures. I'm actually good at painting. I'm actually good at knowing perspective. I'm actually good at, you know, speaking on camera. So it's always knowing, like, you can learn a skill that you always had inside you, but you never knew you had it until you tried it.
I mean, that's with like a lot of authors, a lot of musicians. Just I feel like a lot of creatives start like sometimes they're like old men and they just decide to start this, or sometimes they went through many stages of life of different eras where it's like 10 years they did this, 10 years they did that, 10 years they did this. It's like
it's more fulfilling life too, you know. Like
you're just pursuing what you love or what you're like intrigued by.
Yeah, and like you know, you mentioned like, oh, I took a photo, and I'm like actually good at taking photos. I think more importantly though, it's like the feeling of like, oh, like I really do enjoy this, you know.
Facts.
And then also like, I mean, sometimes like you might not do what you love for like a living.
Facts.
You know, but I think as long as you like, that doesn't mean like you're a sellout. Like, I think as long as you find something that allows you to do the things you love, I think that's also that's an alternative reality that
everyone
equally
has
is good.
Like, cause everyone has their certain like I guess limits to where they want to be. I'm a greedy bastard, so like I want to live fully in it. Like, I want to live fully in it. There's times in my life where I was like, oh, maybe I should become an electrician and do this. But that's not because I wanted to become an electrician, because I was scared that I wouldn't make it as an artist. I was like for you to actually want to make it as an artist and just do that, you have to really, this is just my opinion, I think you have to have a no bullshit nature where you feel like that's the only thing you can do. And which is why I think a lot of successful people, the reason why they got there is because that's the only thing they saw themselves doing. That's the only thing they worked for, because it's like, what else am I doing in life if I'm not living out?
They made that decision.
Their purpose.
They made that decision to be like, bro, I'm not working this type job. I'm going to work at this. But another thing is, like you said, like, it's not even about success or whatever. It's like, what do you align yourself with? How much do you need to live off of art? Because somebody might be like, dude, I like what I do and I love doing my artwork.
Right.
I don't need to live off of art. That's not the end goal. But I think another thing you said earlier, you didn't even say this on Paul, but it really touched me. It's like living shameless. Being a shameless artist. Being like, I'm going to put every aspect of my craft, my practice, my ability out there and just get back what I get back. And I think that we're our most shameless when we're a kid and when we're an old person. I think y'all keep on talking about an old person, I keep on talking about a kid. And like both these people are shameless people. You don't gotta live for nobody no more but yourself. And that's where they find that success, is when they're not living for nobody. They're just living for practicing their craft.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like old people do resort. I mean, in my opinion, like when I get older, I'm gonna resort back to my childish mindset, where it's like I remember just a first podcast. One of my things was like have that child. I'm trying to remember exactly what I said, but have that childish mindset of pursuing like what you love. But that's like I said, there's different routes. So like I talked to you about my mentor. He of course, like, he's a full-time muralist now, but at first he was like very, you know, he wanted to he had to figure out a route to get where he wanted to, but also like kind of like doing a give and take situation. So he became a designer for Converse, and through that he was still an artist, even though it wasn't necessarily all he loved to do. But as part of it, it provided him stability. It provided him ways to get property. It provided him ways to basically support himself financially and the family that he started. And that right there led to a point where, like, every sick day he took, every vacation day he took, he worked on his own thing. So it's about choosing your own battles. Like you said, picking your fight. Because you can choose your fight. It's just, are you willing to fight it?
Also, your job doesn't have to define you. And it shouldn't. I think growing up, it was always like, what do you want to be? You know, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? That question, and, like, you know, that's a really, I think that's a pretty bad question to ask, especially for kids, because it's like, how much have they been have they experienced actually to actually figure that out,
like,
right?
Where you want to be when you grow up.
Yeah, and it's, but then also there's like this notion of like, well, you have to pick something you like. Yeah. And I think, like, maybe you don't have to like what you do, like your job. I mean, you shouldn't hate it, right? But if it allows you to like do the things you actually love, and then like what you said about your mentor, then I think that's like a win-win situation, you know.
That's dope. That's dope.
That's a
there's a lot of, I think, life, you know, you don't have that control over like what's gonna happen or like where you want to be at, right? Like you kind of have to roll with it.
Yeah, roll with the punches.
Yeah,
I feel though like it's not about liking, but it is about being comfortable.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be uncomfortable. Right. And I think another thing is what you said that really hit me. Like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I think in today's society, we're seeing so much more success happening for younger people. So fuck what you want to be when you grow up. What do you want to be now? And how can I help you with that now? You know,
I feel like it's less about what you want to be. I think like
what do you want to do now? That's
exactly.
what I'm saying.
Like, what are you interested in?
Because you can get into streaming. Yes. You can get into streaming now. You feel me? You can get into making artwork and selling that. You know, like a farmer's market now. I feel that with that, you know, the kid can either fall in love with it or be like, oh, I like it like this. I like my art more like this. Maybe they just want to make art for themselves. We shouldn't demonize just making artwork for yourself. Because some people's like that. And, you know, you can like making artwork and like want to share it. So, like you said, I really do like that a lot. Like, you know, don't, like, your job shouldn't define you. And but I do think you should be comfortable with whatever you do. And nobody's going to put themselves in an uncomfortable situation.
Because
don't get into a toxic job. Right. Like,
I feel like the key word that I pull from there is identity.
Yeah.
Like, don't force identity on people. Don't force identity on yourself. Mm-hmm. And, you know, stay inspired. Find your muse. Like, subscribe, comment.
Hit the bell icon.
Yeah.
For sure. Thank you, Jeff, for having you on.
Okay, thank you, guys.
I love the way you did that, bro. Like, I never saw you do that. That was tough.
No,
you should keep doing that.
Honestly, let's just show them how we do the thumbnail. Let's pose right quick.
Wait, what are we doing, actually? We're doing like a...
Now we're on... Yeah.
Okay, that's it, right? We just got to pause for like...
A little bit more. All right, everybody smile. All right, now everybody don't smile. All right, that's it. I'm playing.
No, that's fun, guys.
That was fun.